Hey guys, we are online here, and for the time being, it is just me. We got Mike coming soon, but he needed to go pick up some cars, and so he is not with us right now. If you shout loud enough, you might be able to see him. Maybe he's checking the live stream on his phone. I don't think that he is. That would be really weird. Yeah, we're receiving like a 11 and a 180 SX. That's the really nice lady that delivers things. And picking up two high aces. And so he left at 10:30. It's now 11 o'clock here in Japan. Backstreet Boys are in Japan at the moment. When I was delivering my children to school, I listened to an interview with them, and I was very surprised at how grown up they sounded compared to when I was a kid. Maybe that happens to everybody. Yeah, I mentioned to everybody earlier that I didn't shave, nor am I wearing my fancy business clothes like I usually do, and so this is casual Derek that you get this time. It is what it is. Still have my trusty water bottle here. Yeah, look at that. It's a beard. I can finally grow a beard at 36 years old. I'm not a hobo, whoever said that. CLP. Baggy shorts? Yeah, cargo shorts, actually. Because I know how cool cargo shorts are, especially for dads. Yeah. I guess you can't see. They're not cargo shorts. They're the regular pants that I typically wear. I usually don't drink. I'll have a few drinks here and there. For like 6 months, I didn't have any, just because I didn't really feel like I needed it. Kind of a weird thing. When you grow up, especially with parents who like to drink and misbehave, you kind of think that, like, you get this feeling like when people, a lot of people will drink because of sorrow, like sad drinking. And I always thought that when you drink, you should never drink when you're sad. And as a teenager, I continued to believe that. And then when I started drinking more, I never really had any problems with it. So it's, to me, a little bit strange to think about how the difference is. I know some people, every time that they drink, it's a sad time. Not for me. Nippon Imports, you sent me a message on Saturday that said, yo, and then I didn't get back to you because it was Saturday, and then Sunday I didn't get back to you because it was Sunday, and then now I forgot about it. I hope you're doing well. You seem to be doing well after that the Bring a Trailer auction. That was pretty intense. That's a lot more than I was expecting the car to sell for. And when you say we need to make a deal, that means you probably want to buy my city off of me. It's not going to happen. Elizabeth, the Evo 2 version of that car, they only made like 500 of them, and people who own them very rarely sell them. I've seen 3 of them go through auctions since we started business 10 years ago. And prices are all over the place, and conditions are all over the place. So it's really hard to knock down a price. I've seen one of them sell for over 10 million. And then one of them sold for 8 million. So you're looking at like $70,000 to $100,000 for one of those at the moment. The ones that come up for auction, and neither of those were in particularly good condition. Oh, I feel like I need a nap. I probably shouldn't say this, but last night I stayed up past midnight. I know, for such an old guy as me, it's hard to believe that I did that, but and I got scolded by my daughter saying, you shouldn't sit in bed and play video games, you need to go to bed. And so it was a reverse role there. I was playing Smash Brothers, and I haven't played in a week because I had no time. But last night the kids went to bed early, my wife is sick, so she went to bed, and I've been feeling fairly stressed out, hence this. And this is because this morning I was like, no, I'm going to F it, and I'm going to not actually do any of my responsibilities. Because my wife was sick with the flu for the entire last week, the whole house has been managed by me, which has made it kind of difficult to get everything done while staying sane, I suppose. and it has been stressful, and then that's why we played the Smash Brothers. Let's reload this. It looks like the page is running slow. Okay, log in with the guest account. And we'll just bring something up onto the screen here. I'm looking for a CRX. And there's only 2 of them on here. That is really interesting. Because there's a lot of people, well, there's 28 people on the stream, so you guys are going to find out this brand new information before anybody else. But we are, together with some person that I know, creating our own version of the auction tool. And I was just fooling around with it today, and ours has 3 cars when I looked up CRXs this morning. Better than this one. Haha. Yeah, JAA, don't click on the top one because it's USS, right? The JAA used to be its own auction, but then USS bought them. And USS also bought HAA Kobe, and so they're buying up everything. Which is a little bit of a concern because I'm not too happy with how USS handles their popularity. They're kind of like the Michael Jackson of auctions in that they don't really care what other people think. Okay, so bad condition CRX. It looks like the paint looks pretty terrible. Original wheels and exhaust is kind of cool. Let's put that back up here. And go over this sheet here. So this one, 1989. And SIR, it's a little bit weird. These have such value for the SIR version of them because compared to the US version, which was only 108 horsepower, 110 horsepower, these ones are 160. And so they come with a V16 A engine. And it's weird to see one in such bad condition because of the value. Typically cars that are valuable will be kept in better condition, and then the cars that people don't care about, which was the CRX from like the year 2000 until about 2010. The CRXs were fairly cheap cars that people just bagged on, but nowadays because of the value spike, we're seeing a lot more in better condition, but we're also seeing a lot that are still in bad condition. So 150,000 kilometers on it, bad paint obviously on the hood, the pillar, the fender, the roof, bad repaint over here, huge dent here and here. You can't see the dents in the pictures, even with these high-res ones. This is a glass roof, that's kind of cool. The US ones never got the glass roof, and this is probably a 4-seater too. The seller doesn't say how many seats. Let's sign into FaceTime with Andrew's email address. Weird. Yeah, glass sunroof, engine oil leak, antenna's broken, molding needs to be replaced, interior is dirty, stereo has been removed, glove box is broken, door has small cigarette burns in it, steering wheel grip needs to be replaced, they don't say why, seat, the seat is broken, rear spoiler is scratched, and the trunk damper needs to be replaced. So it doesn't look like it's in good condition. Nonetheless, it's, you know, auction grade 3, interior E, exterior E is about as low as grades get before you get to the ones with terrible corrosion. But it would still be worth it to fix this up because a good condition CRX, you're looking at $8,000 or $10,000 now for the SIR version with the 160 horsepower. Glass roof will add a little bit of price to it. And this one, considering it's on the original wheels, original exhaust, and no other modifications to it, it's probably mechanically sound. And 150,000 kilometers isn't really that high for this engine. They typically will run pretty well. Price for this one? Oh, I don't know. It would need a full paint job with lots of body repairs on it and a few things in the interior. Might think maybe 450,000 yen, so $4,000 or so, which to me seems like a lot, but there are people that want them. Not very many people that want them that buy from us though. I think we've only sold 2 CRXs in total. We've sold more of this generation, the EF version of the Civic, than we have the CRX, even though the CRX is probably the more popular of the 2. Okay, so I'll say hi to the people that are in the chat. We got our very first person who came in was Robbie Badassi. Came in like an hour before the stream started. I don't know if you're still in, but if you are, what's up to you? We got Carl Raymond Grenier on here. BTC is in the chat. My Life in Okinawa. I'd like to check out his channel if he posts things about his life in Okinawa. Bill Courtney's here, as always. He's cooking dinner. Oh, that's another thing too, is I don't know how to cook anything. And because my wife had the sickness with the flu, I had to cook like school lunches and lunch over the weekend and dinner. And I'm pretty proud of how it turned out, considering I don't really know how to cook. I haven't done it in many years because my wife always takes care of the cooking in our house, and she's very good at it. Every time that I try to cook, I get like minus points, like relationship points. It's quite sad. One time I tried to make like a Mother's Day breakfast, and it was like my first year here in Japan. I went to the store to buy bacon, and I bought what looked like bacon, but in retrospect it wasn't bacon. It was just thinly sliced pork, and so I made bacon and eggs with pork, but it turned out really badly. And then she then banned me, unless she's sick, from ever making any food in the future. CLP is in the chat. Carl Raymond Grenier, I already said your name. Elizabeth seems to have become a regular recently. John Clark is here. We also have Nippon Imports, because you're my G. Also, yeah, send me a message on Facebook about what you want to talk about. We need to talk, buddy. We need to make a deal. And obviously I'm wearing my Making a Deal clothing. Hunts by Chainsaw is here. Lucio Hardware. Okay, I'm seeing a lot of the same names in here, which is good. It means some people like to tune in. Yeah, this one's going to be the full 1 hour. Last week was only 30 minutes because we were very busy that time, especially trying to come up with the videos that we made of the car that we wanted to purchase for our Frozen Lake driving, which is very cool. That, let me just adjust this. Very cool that everybody took part in that. It's neat to have people send in the cars that we're going to buy. We set a budget, give the criteria, you guys vote on which car, and then we bid. I'm a little bit surprised that we could win within the second bid of the 6 that we had set that day. It was good. Please don't answer my question until I'm back. Oh, I'm gonna answer it now, and then you're gonna have to click on the video and re-watch the whole thing just to get to your answer, or else you'll forever not know that your question was answered. Nippon Imports, you sent in a USS Yokohama car. We can't look at that. USS Yokohama doesn't like us. And that's one thing about those videos, the live bidding. I wanted so much to show you guys the screen of exactly how the bidding works, but I also didn't want the auction to say, hey, take that video down, because you can't show that kind of stuff. All the auctions have a policy where you can't show the live bidding. And you can find that kind of stuff on YouTube, but it's the channels that put it up usually aren't the actual company that owns the license, and so most of the time the people who own the licenses, they know the rules. They're not going to put those kind of videos up. But it is a shame, because it is really fun to watch in person, especially if it's cars that we're trying to win for a future video. And that's a big thing, CLP. Too bad you can't use studded tires on the ice. That is a huge disappointment. But that lake, what I've been told is that because it's like that lake is owned by the government, they don't allow studded tires on any government ice. That might be a Japan-wide thing, and it is a shame, because if you go to YouTube and you look at Frozen Lake driving, everybody's driving really quick and it looks really fun, but it's very slow when you don't have the studded tires. It is not allowed. Okay, so we got a first question here I'll take from G, which I like your name. Sent you an email today about shipping a camper to Vancouver and on to Toronto. If you have time, can you discuss the costs? Sure, I'll discuss the costs. If you're sending an email to us right now, we are about 5 to 6 days delay in replying to new inquiries, and this has been an ongoing thing. The truth is, we just can't reply to all of the emails because we don't have time, because we're using the time to help customers who are buying, and then only a select few people who send us inquiries actually come through with a purchase. I'm not sure why that is, but I suspect that most of the time people are looking for information on costs well before they're ready to purchase, and then they realize how much it costs, and then they go save money, and then they come back to us. That seems to be pretty common. But these emails take a really long time to answer. Oftentimes they're like, can be over 1,000 words, 2,000 words, and one email can be about 10 minutes, and we're getting 15 emails a day on top of our already busy work, and so it does take a while, and I'm really sorry for people who are waiting a long time for those replies. Anyways, to go back to it, so the costs. Let me just read this. If you have time, can you discuss the costs? Okay, so first off, the cost of the car. A camping car varies in price a lot. You can get them from $2,000 up to $20,000, and so I'm going to exclude that. Service fee is 100,000 yen for the purchase. If it's over 1,000,000 yen, then it's 5% on the amount that's over 1,000,000. So if it's like, if you bought a car for 1.5 million, which is about $14,000 US at the moment, then it would be 5% on the portion over 1,000,000, which is 500,000. 5% of that would be extra on the service fee. Nippon Imports. I'm better than you at writing emails, or maybe I'm not. Maybe your 5 to 30 emails in 5 minutes is something that I can't do. Okay, so back to the costs. Then there's the in Japan transport cost, which is usually about 20,000 yen, and then there's the cost of shipping. So for a lot of campers, they're large, and this can be anywhere between about $1,500 to about $2,500 or so. This is all US dollars, by the way. The car lands in Vancouver. You got to pay $500 for Canadian customs and brokerage fees, plus 11.1% of the value of the vehicle, which includes our service fee. And then transport from Vancouver to Toronto is about, for a regular car, it's $1,300. You'd probably have to pay extra because it's a tall vehicle. It may be a few extra $100, and then regular registration costs on top of that. Copy paste, yes. So here's the thing with the emails is when Andrew used to work for us, he could burn through the emails because he was very good at the copy paste type replies. I personally don't like the copy paste replies, but will use it fairly frequently on things like, this is how you set up an account, just to make sure that all the right information is passed along and nothing is forgotten. That said, for like a year and a half, I was never replying to any of the brand new emails because usually I was too busy. At the moment, we have Mike working, who's very good at answering the emails. He doesn't answer the emails as quickly as Andrew did. And then on top of that, we're getting more inquiries now than we usually did. And so it gets backed up really easily. And then because I'm so unfamiliar with writing these emails, I don't have a folder full of auto replies that I can reply to people for the regular questions that we get. And a lot of the questions are, how much does this car cost? Which is not an easy question to have auto replies for because prices change over time throughout the year. And a lot of people are looking for very specific information on the type of car that they specifically want, which is something that we can give to customers because of our experience. And so in that regard, I think for our type of business, it probably takes longer than another type of business, most likely. The STI is coming in on the 28th, Chris Shaw, and it is now not the 28th, it is, what's the date, 22nd. It might come in earlier. Got some wheels, actually. Let me just show you. Bought winter tires for it. Web exclusive. You watch our live stream and you get to find out what wheels and tires that we put on the car. And bought these for 30,000 yen with winter tires that are very good. Hopefully very good. And I got a quiz to anybody here if you know what kind of wheels they are, except for Chris Shaw because you already got them. So I bought them on Yahoo Auctions, and I was very busy at the moment, so I looked at the wheels and I thought that they were Work-O-Motion wheels, and so I bought them. The price was good. And then when they came, I was like, wow, these aren't Work-O-Motion wheels at all. They are Dunlop Dereza RSC wheels. Good condition, they fit the car, and they have winter tires, and they were only 30,000 yen, which is a lot nicer than we paid over $1,000 for the winter tires on the Golf last year because I couldn't find any used ones that were good because Volkswagen size wheels, although it is the same, a 5x100, the offset is different than Subarus and Priuses, and I couldn't find anything that would fit properly, so we just bought brand new tires for that one. Okay, so why don't we take a look at some sort of a car. I don't like having that CRX up anymore. Not that it's a bad car, but what do we got here? Javier Twins sent in a GT4, which really was the car I wanted to get for the ice racing, just because I love that car. And then last year, if you've seen the video, it's up right now. There was somebody who had brought an ST185. I wanted an ST205 because I think that they're cooler looking cars, but my grandfather, up until a few years before, probably about 7 years before he passed away, he drove a 180 series Salika. And I used to think that was such a hot car when he bought it when it was brand new. This is a little bit funny because the auction tool here calls this a Toyota Corona, not a Salika. But if you look at the sheet here, it says Salika. Salika. Cool. Original wheels on it and the original high-rise spoiler, which is very cool. I think that this is one of the coolest, most inventive ideas, is to, instead of get a different spoiler for your sportier version of the car, just make these little blocks that you put in under the spoiler, and then the fact that it angles the spoiler more and raises it up, I think that's really cool. And I think there are a few other companies that have done that in the past. I seem to recall that that was the case, but Toyota, you win because this is probably the one that most people know about. I like how he has the dealer plate on his car, and he paid extra for his dealer plate to have special numbers in it. Notice that there's only 3 numbers, so you have to pay extra if you want to pick your own numbers. I wonder what the significance of 864 is. Original Nintendo was 8-bit, and then when they bought the plate, it was 64-bit. That's my guess. 3-spoke wheels I think are stupid, but if they're the original wheels, I can see why you might want to keep them. I think that the gunmetal wheels look really nice with the body, with the black body. Condition, another auction grade 3 car. So 1994 Salika. This is legal for the USA, which is really cool. We've had a number of people ask us for translation of this car because everybody wants the 205s now that they're legal to be imported to the USA, and just barely legal too. But the engine makes strange sounds and there's white smoke from the exhaust, which you can't see in the picture, but most likely that is true. There's also animal hair in the car, and the exterior has clear coat scratches. Interior scratched, dirty, and wear. So it looks like it's going to need an engine rebuild. Most likely it's overheated because of poor maintenance. I find these engines to be pretty reliable, but especially like MR2 and Salika, the turbocharged ones, they're easy to maintain, but they're commonly not maintained properly, I think. And like I was saying before with the low-grade cars, people don't maintain a low-grade car very well, especially a sports car, because they want to spend their money instead on tires and performance upgrades instead of the things to keep your car alive. So it's pretty common to see a car, 25 years old sports car, that has kind of engine issues. So paint fade on the front bumper, some scratches over here, some scratches over here, some scratches over here. The A3 is a large scratch. On the side skirts, I usually don't mind side skirt scratches so much because they often are underneath the side skirt where you can't see them. But in the back fender here, that would be annoying. And in A3, you would have to repaint, which means you're blending paints and things like that. Still looks cool if you don't mind replacing the engine. I suspect the price is going to be quite high for a car with a blown engine because people just need to get these cars into the US, and then this one's legal. So possibly like 500,000 yen for this. And then I think it's probably a head gasket. But the engine sound is a little bit odd. A blown head gasket wouldn't necessarily mean that it's making any sort of sound, so it could need a full rebuild or a replace. Looks like the base hangs over the fenders pretty far, but it makes sense that it goes up with the hatch. I don't know what that means. In Japan, you can't have a spoiler that's wider than than the fender, and so the widest part of the fender here. Some people do it anyway, but you can't pass the inspection. 3S GTE seem to have a lot of oil leaks, but they are easier to work on than most turbo things. Well, I don't have experience with the oil leaks of the 3S GTE more than other cars, but I have noticed it a few times. Oddly, the 2JZ, we've had lots of problems with oil leaks with that one. And then, are they easy to work on? I think access in the MR2 is difficult. And then I've heard it's a very difficult job to do a clutch on one of these. And then the suspension on the Salika, because that has the super strut suspension, is a pain in the butt because it can be expensive. The control arm is attached right to the strut, which is a weird design. Somebody said something about the Supra, but then retracted Tony Counts. What were you saying about the Supra? I think a lot of people are talking about the Supra right now, and most people are complaining about it, but most people complain about the BRZ, and it's still pretty popular and very cool in my mind. Is the Salika engine easier to service than a 13B Rotary? No, I don't think so. I think both of them are probably about the same. You just have to be careful with your servicing. Do Japanese say Z or Z? They say Z. That one's a super easy one. That's why the Fair Lady Z, right? Not a Fair Lady Z. 2JZ. Not JZ. Not the rapper. Just, that's an easy way to remember. I saw the Supra in person yesterday, and I was not impressed. See, when I see pictures on the internet, especially press pictures, I really want to be extra careful not to pass judgment on the car until I've actually seen it, because it's very easy to... Well, the press photos may shine the car in the best of lights possible, and then beyond that, pictures really don't show you what a car looks like, because the size of the car especially, which the Supra I think is a very interesting size. It's shorter than the Mark IV, has a shorter wheelbase, but only by a little bit, but is quite a bit shorter, but it is quite a bit wider, and it's a little bit taller. And so size-wise, it's quite an interesting vehicle, I think. And then the price point, I think, is very good. And I think if you wanted a better car, you would have needed to go up to 70 or 80 or 90 or even $100,000. And I think they're going to sell a lot of those with the way that they look, considering the price point that it's at. So I don't know. We'll see when it comes out, and we'll see what the market says to it. Would I ever own an RX-7 from Delage? I love the car so much, but I'm not really into the sporty and the sexy cars. I'm more into something that's stupid. I know it sounds weird, but I don't know. The RX-7 is a fantastic car, though, and I think that it gets a lot of flack for being unreliable, for being quirky, or it's just become something of a meme car, but it's a fantastic car. It feels so good to drive that it's definitely worth any sort of issues that you might have with driving it, in my mind. What temperature is it here? Oh, I don't know. Naoko, what's the temperature today? It's probably like 8 degrees or something. Yes, I very much like wagons. The E63S not so much, but the RS6 very much, and the Wagon M5 very much, big time, and the RS4, and basically anything that comes in a station wagon, I love, especially when they're fast. I do like the Mercedes engine, but for some reason I don't feel like I would ever want to own one. I'm more interested in what Audi and BMW put out than what AMG does, even though I like their cars, and they sound really good, especially when they start up. I think that they've tuned it so that it sounds especially mean when it starts up, like brum. It's cool. Oh, and a Mitsubishi Lancer Evolution Wagon. Oh, that's something of a dream car, because I love the way that the Evos drive. Love it so much. And they're the right amount of power for me, with about 300 horsepower with the four-wheel drive, and then that weight is a very good combination, because I don't like a car that's overly fast, but it would be faster than an Impreza and faster than a Salika ST205 that we're looking at here. And so, yeah, an Evo wagon would be very cool. What's taking Mike so long to get back, eh? I hope he didn't have a problem. Maybe he's just hanging out and playing some Smash Brothers. The Mark II Blitz is a station wagon. Let's have a look at one of them. Because it seems like the station wagon that I would fall in love with, but I don't like it that much. I like everything about it except for the looks. And I love the Mark II so much and the way that they drive incredibly. Mark II Blitz. So these are a rear-wheel drive, 1JZ, turbocharged station wagon. You can't get them with a manual transmission, mind you. And they're based off the JZX 110 chassis. And like I really should like them, but the styling doesn't do it for me. I think a station wagon should be. And to be honest, I don't like the JZX 110 Mark II either. And it has the same kind of like blasé looks. Or the Verosa. Here's another car on the same chassis, and boy, is that ugly. This one's modified, and it starts to look a little bit better when modified, but the stock ones are hideous. Look at that. I think if I bought one of these cars, it would be because it's so ugly, though. I kind of, yeah, ugly cars do it for me in a strange way. And people don't understand, but they don't need to understand. But the 280 horsepower rear-wheel drive, fantastic chassis, stupid looks. I don't know. I do like the Crown Wagon instead. The JZS 175 Wagon. To me, this is a better looking car, and then the Mark II Blitz replaced this one. Naoko, you just gave me your phone.
Yeah,
I'm gonna.
lost his phone.
What?
One of the drivers lost his phone. It's from Mike.
Oh. Okay. This is the driver's phone?
Yeah, I think so.
No, this is your phone.
Yeah, that is my phone, of course.
I'm confused.
Yeah. You're confused.
And then this is the final generation of the Crown station wagon, which is a shame because the Crown went on to look like this, which may be a difficult look to work with a station wagon, and maybe that's why. This one, so boxy and so good. And then you also get the 1JZ turbocharged engine. And so we went from this, and then we went to this other one that I don't have a picture of anymore. There we go. To this, and I think the Crown's a better looking, and it would be a higher level car too, better interior, I think. The SJW 2019. It's funny. JZX 70, 80, and 100. Hundreds are my favorite out of all of them, but I do like them all very much. What do I think about the Sprinter Carib? Nobody really thinks about those cars very much. They're relatively cheap. They're just a regular Corolla station wagon. I kind of prefer the sporty station wagons. And it's weird because station wagons are adored by hipsters, and I wouldn't really consider myself to be that hipster. Maybe I am. Maybe this is my true colors shining through. Yes, the BZ Touring is fantastic, Chris. Oh my gosh, I love that car, but they're so hard to find, and I've been looking for one for a while to buy it just so that I can drive one. BZ Touring AE 111. Not very good pictures of it. So this one here is the 11 and the Sprinter Trudeau, and then they made a station wagon version of it that comes with the blacktop 160 horsepower engine with 6-speed manual. It looks not like this. It looks like this, but in better condition. And the looks honestly aren't that good. It's front wheel drive, which is a little bit of a shame. But the 6-speed manual with that fantastic engine is just so nice. And then this is going to be a nice light chassis, even compared to the fairly light Corolla chassis that came after this one, of the Runks and the what's the other version of that? The Alex is what this car eventually came in, changed into. And then the Corolla Fielder also comes with a 6-speed manual. Corolla Fielder 6-speed. I spelled Fielder wrong. That's stupid. So this body style comes with a 6-speed manual and the 2ZZ engine, which is the 180/190 horsepower engine. In Japan, it's 190 PS. In America, it's 180 horsepower. Salika engine. Very cool. The Runks, RUNX, not RUNKS. Old Hilux. Let's see if we can find an old Hilux. They're super expensive, so we very rarely ever sell them. Hilux pickup. They're bought by the deep pockets of terrorists around the world. So something like this. That's weird. This is a 2003, but they didn't change that much. It's very odd that Toyota, like, because of the chicken tax, which is the 25% tax on pickup trucks that are non-American, which is a ridiculous thing. These vehicles were never sold in America. But if they were, that would be fantastic. They used to sell old, like, Toyota pickup trucks in the 80s, but we never got the 4-door. So the 4-door with the diesel and the 4-wheel drive, it's basically you can't really get better than this in my mind. I had an old Toyota pickup truck that I had for several years, and it was awesome. But it was only the 2-door, 4-wheel drive, raised suspension, not that big, a little bit bigger than this, a little bit taller than this. It was really good. Yeah, and solid axle, little mule, awesome. Solid axle front and rear. This one here doesn't have the solid axle, but the ones up until like 90, somewhere in the mid 90s or so, is when they changed over to the independent front. Small bed, but it doesn't matter. Ooh, a winch in the bed. That's cool. Cool, man. But a 2003. You can import it to the US. No, you can't, into Canada. And then this one has the gasoline engine. 2.7 liter. Same as the Tacoma engine, so parts and stuff would be no problem. And we got Mike back here. Mike? How was everything?
Long story. Well, the driver just lost his phone and then he thought it was in one of the cars at the lot, but it wasn't, so he has no idea where his phone is.
You were gone for over an hour.
Yeah.
That's where all our time goes. If you're waiting for a reply, it's because Mike was late, but not under his own fault.
Running around looking for phones.
I'm so glad that you're back because I feel like taking a nap instead of doing a live stream here, and we only have 46 people that are watching now instead of our regular 60 or so people are noticing.
Where is everyone?
I need you to come be entertaining for me.
Okay.
I already admitted that I spent too much time playing Smash Brothers last night, and that's why I'm not feeling good. When most of my work is fairly easy, I'm the type of person who's generally not very good in front of a camera or that sort of thing, and when people are watching, it makes me feel awkward, and so for me it takes more energy than an average person, I think, in order to do something like this, and on a day that I don't have the energy, it can be very difficult to come through, I think. Yeah, Mike's groupies are going to come in. Mike, do you have groupies?
Not that I know of, but it'd be pretty swig if I did. That'd be cool.
If you have a groupie that you don't know about, that's called a stalker, though.
Oh.
And I don't know if that would be that good.
I've never had a stalker either. It'd kind of be an experience that I would like, but then it's probably going to be short-lived.
Mm-hmm.
No,
Yeah.
please don't stalk me anymore.
Yeah, as soon as you find out you have a stalker, they're going to murder you.
Oh.
So you're going to have a very small bit of joy. Like, I've got a stalker. I'm going to die.
Oh, no.
Lucio Hardware says, thanks for your hard work, Mike. And I haven't had somebody feeding me good questions or auction picks, and so we've just been BSing for most of the time. I'm looking... Delage says the FT1 Super Concept looked so bad. I can't say this word. BADASS than the actual production car.
That's what we were just talking about last week.
Yeah, that's why I brought it up. I think everybody kind of agrees with that.
Yeah.
It is a shame. And the FT1 did this. Not the FT1. What is it? The FT86 did the same thing. Yeah. FT86. This one here is one that I saw at an auto show, and I think that this one's better looking than the production version of the car. But I particularly like the extra window that you get here. So the windshield has this a micro window for basically no reason at all. And there is another car in Japan that does that. It's a K car, and so it is possible in a production car. I thought, oh, it's probably going to be too expensive, and that's why they cut it. But K cars are tiny margin cars, and so it was possible to be done on the K car. And then there's the black one. That's a rendering.
This is. Did you say this is the FT6? Because I never saw this.
FT86.
Ah, right.
Yeah, and then this one here I saw as well before it had come out. I didn't really care for this one as much, but
this one I almost feel like the 86 came out better
than the black one.
Yeah, I like that red one.
Yeah, I don't know. Looking back at it now, I'm so used to seeing 86s all over the roads here, and so I quite like the design of it compared to when I first saw it, but it could have been due to exposure. Oh, that's what I want. I want a car with such an aggressive back end that nobody ever gets to see the front end, just that like a stock front end.
Yeah.
So that when you pass people going, Brum, they're like, wow, look at that cool car, but then you only spent a third of the money because you only got the back end done.
So all engine work and then...
I don't know. With the GTR, you wouldn't need engine work. It's fast enough that you can burn past pretty much anything on the road.
Yeah.
Just you have to do it around people that never look in their rearview mirror, which is basically everybody who drives now. Okay, so you up to speed now? You got...
Yeah.
Are you ready? Are you relaxed?
I think so. I'm still highly strung. That guy's lost his phone somewhere. He has no idea where.
I lost my phone this morning too.
Oh, bad things coming through. Someone else is going to lose their phone.
Where's Naoka? Where's your phone?
Oh no, Naoka, we were messaging. Naoka and I are safe.
I'm confused.
Little Mule says ideas of the new Supra and new Skyline. I said earlier in this stream, the new Supra, I'm waiting until I see it. I'm waiting until a few months before I pass judgment on it. I think most people are pretty disappointed with it, but I don't know, whatever. But the new Skyline, I don't know. I've seen like they brought out like a concept car of it, and to me it looked really weird. But the people who had seen it in person said that it looked good, and so I don't know. It's kind of a weird. It's kind of a weird car and a weird design. But we have to think back. The R35 went through some really, really hideous concepts. It's weird. Like Nissan has the ugly concept and then comes out with a less ugly version of the car, but Toyota seems to have been doing the opposite with their cars. And as much as people don't think that the Skyline's a beautiful car, I think that this bumper has to go. I think that it doesn't have to be beautiful. I think it's aggressive, and I think it's noticeable, and I think they did a good job on styling it in that respect. Okay, we've only looked at like 2 or 3 cars, so why don't we pick one out?
There was a K truck that someone sent in, but it's 2002, so kind of illegal, but I don't know. Do you want to have a look at that?
Sure. Is it just a regular K truck?
Yeah, in good condition, apparently. I didn't have much look at it.
Okay.
Yeah, it seems to be in good shape.
You got a number?
JUICHI 2015.
2015. Okay, so K trucks are all basically the same, and so to me, they are not cool. They are just work trucks. I have been living in Japan for long enough that a K truck no longer has that cool appeal that it does in other countries, especially countries that don't have anything like this on the road. So if you're in the US or if you're in Canada or other countries that you never see these, it can be an attention-getting car, which is otherwise in Japan just a utilitarian car. And they're built cheaply, they're built for a purpose, they're not nice to drive, and I wouldn't own one unless I needed to haul things around. And even so, I could probably find something that's more interesting to use to haul things around. But they are cheap, and that's the main draw for them, for people who work, because you don't need to be flashy when you're just driving boards around in the back. So prices for old ones are pretty cheap. I think a new one is somewhere around $10,000 brand new, and so old ones depreciate pretty quickly. And you can usually get one like this one's a 2002. You can usually get for under $1,000, like $600 or $800, plus costs to send it. Landed like in Canada, something like this might be somewhere around 5,000 Canadian or so, maybe lower, maybe 4,000 Canadian. What is the area limitation car? I don't know. Naoko, you're gonna have to help me with this.
Yes.
I'm sorry, I'm asking you to be on the video. You can cover your face if you want. This kanji here, can you please translate that?
限定、this area limited.
The KU?
KUI? No, this is area KU. Yeah, KU area limited.
What do you
What
think
is
that
KU?
means?
What is
Ku?
KU?
Like Chiyoda Q?
KU, area limited?
Yeah.
Can't go into the city?
It's sure limited. Area limited.
Okay, well the answer is nobody knows what that means,
Sorry.
but if you were somebody who was bidding on this car, we could possibly call the auction. It seems like I've never heard of anything like this, but what it sounds like is it's registered and it's only legal within a certain state. So if you bought it, you could only re-register it in that state in Japan, but I've never heard of anything like that.
That would be bizarre.
Who's Fiero Alex? Hey guys, thanks for placing all my bids. Eventually we will get one. What do you guys think TAA Hiroshima will sell for? It has high mileage, which bugs me, but I love the manual M35 Stagia. Is Fiero Alex the don't say a last name.
Sorry.
Don't dox our people. And his address is this. Let's have a look. I know who it is though. I know who you are. All your bids has only been 4 bids. We counted them this morning. Which one? TAA Hiroshima. Yeah. Your Firefox is critically out of date. I love their choice of words there. Thank you. Okay, so let's have a look. Is the M35 Stagia. I like how their license plate says 35 on it. That means that the person who owned this actually liked the Stagias instead of, I'm buying a Stagia because I'm buying a car. It's somebody who's like, I'm buying a Stagia because I like Stagias.
I like the wheels, but those monsoon guards have to go.
Is this a monsoon guard?
Yes.
I actually don't mind them, but if you put those on...
The windows you mean, right? Yeah.
No, I was pointing to around the wheels, the flares.
No.
Because usually this car doesn't have the flares, but this one is the faster one.
Ooh.
With the manual transmission, and so it gets the flares.
I like.
What's a monsoon guard?
The window things? The window guards?
These? They look like they've discolored.
Yeah.
It's weird that they're called monsoon guards.
Well, I think they've got many different names. I heard them called monsoon guards.
They're called window visors in Japan.
Oh.
Yeah. Which is weird because they're not really a visor, are they?
I thought the visor was the interior bit.
It is too. Misinformation. They probably have some special name that's related to seafood. Here's something interesting we were just talking about in the office. So the halo headlights or the angel eye headlights that put a white ring. In Japan, these are called Ika ring headlights. And Ika means squid. And so the name for them is squid ring headlights, which kind of makes sense because the squid is hollow in the middle, and then when you cut it, it turns into like calamari, it turns into circles. Kind of interesting, but a weird name. But this seems to be a trend with car aftermarket part names, because the word for exhaust header is octopus legs. Takoashi. Or possibly tentacles. So your exhaust header is called tentacles or exhaust legs. Octopus legs. Very strange.
Tentacle legs. Delicious. And an Evolution if you would like to see that. Oh, sorry, you don't know the price.
Oh yeah. Okay, so we want to know the price of this. This is the Fairlady Z of the stages. We've talked about this in the last live stream. It's a rear-wheel drive instead of the regular four-wheel drive. And instead of a turbo 2.5 with 280 horsepower, it is a naturally aspirated 3.5 350Z engine in it with the rear-wheel drive. Very cool. Cool it's naturally aspirated. Cool that they made something special like this. I don't know if they have the Brembo brakes of the S version of the Fairlady as well. If they do, that's extra cool. We don't have an interior picture here. I have a feeling like they should have upgraded the seats too, but maybe they didn't. How much is it going to sell for? Let's look at the sheet here. So front inner panel is dented. Electric folding mirrors don't work. Exterior has shallow scratches. Underside scratched and dented. Shift knob needs to be replaced. Steering wheel wear. Interior door cards have medium wear. Seat is ripped large and dirty. Headliner's dirty, carpet stained, medium, mirrors scratched. Exterior has detailing marks, like they polished it too much and burnt the paint in places. Rear hatch damper doesn't work. Bad paint on the roof. That's a P3. A replaced fender up here. It's been in a small accident. Interior is E and exterior is D. 166, 124. I don't think that this car is in a good enough condition to recommend buying it, but it's not in terrible condition. If you wanted to put some money into it, you could, but I would probably hold out for something better. That said, you would probably only pay about 200,000 yen for this, which is about $1,600 or so, which is not bad for a 6-speed manual sports car with 280/300 horsepower. Might sell for a little bit less than that. And there's not a lot of people looking for these cars, the 350Z version of them. All right. Have you left me, Mike?
Just setting a bid. Well, it's for a little bit, so it's okay.
What are we bidding on?
The highest. With corrosion.
What does RA mean? Not all the auctions use RA, but typically it would mean an accident that they would consider a lower size accident. Like this one here, there's no mention of any damage to the frame or to the chassis, but there is a replaced fender here. And so that might get the RA. But another auction might grade this a 3.5. And so it is confusing, especially since certain auctions have different criteria for what they call different grades. Change the grill.
That's actually a good question. Do you recommend bidding on cars with or without Japanese registration on them?
Okay, so this car here has Japanese registration on it. It says right here. Also, it's really easy to notice because it has a plate on it. And the question is, should you target cars with them or target cars without them? And it's quite a complicated answer. So here's the thing. If you have registration on your car at the end of March, you have to pay about $500. And so all dealers want to get rid of their plated cars before March 31st. And so if you buy a car between like the end of February or the beginning of February to the end of March that has a plate on it, you'll probably get a good deal on that because the sellers want to sell those really badly. They won't set a high reserve price because they don't want to risk the car going unsold and then them having to pay the extra $500. Then other times of the year, like if the car has a plate on it in April, which will be very, very rare because the only way that would happen is if somebody bought a car April 1st and then wanted to sell it within a couple of weeks. Typically people wouldn't do that.
I didn't know that.
And so you're going to find almost no cars with plates on them in April. You will find the odd one, but it's most people right before they have to pay their tax because it's not only dealers that pay this $500, it's also the owners of the cars would have to pay the $500, and a lot of people don't want to pay the $500 on their car if they're planning on buying a car again anyway. So some people will even sell their car before that time and then buy a car after, because if it's just 1 day difference, you don't have to pay that year's taxes. And so can it be a good way to skip on taxes.
But you'd have to find someone who is willing to buy it early. And because then you're transferring the tax to the other person. Right?
Yeah, but a dealer will always buy the car even if it has a plate on it, and then they'll just offer less because it has a plate on it.
Right.
And then dealers offer pennies for the cars anyways, so it's like a car like this, the dealer would give them like $100 or $200 for it, because used goods in Japan are generally considered to be really cheap, and especially used cars. And when you buy from auction, they can be considered fairly cheap, like $1,800 for this car. In some markets, they'd be like, "Wow, that's so cheap," but the owner of this car only understands the Japanese market, and they know this car is now 15 years old, and a 15-year-old car previously used to be worth less than nothing. You used to have to pay to get rid of old cars, and that's why they started the recycled ticket system, which this car's recycled ticket is 14,150, and you don't really need to know anything about the recycled tickets unless you own an export company. Yeah, rebuilt is RA or R, but R is a real rebuilt one, and an RA is a slight one. I feel like there was a question there that I hadn't answered. Oh, yes, more on the plates. Most people, when their shaken is going to, the registration is called shaken, when the shaken is going to expire, they want to get a new car as well, and because they have to pay like $1,300 or so to get a new shaken every 2 years. And so if their shaken is going to expire, they will typically want to get a new car. The dealer will let the registration cancel on it, and so if the car has no plates and it's the Japanese market that wants to buy that car, you're going to find a higher price on any car that has a plate on it, because the process of getting new insurance on a car that already has plates on it is easier than one that doesn't have any plates on it or the plates have expired. And so there'll be a slightly higher price for cars with plates on them during most of the year, except that's opposite 2 months before the end of March. So it is complicated, and I'm not the best at explaining it because nobody's actually ever asked me that before. Not about the plates. Why can't I talk today? Mike, do you want to talk about things?
No.
Yeah, some people ask about the plates and if that affects the price. The answer is generally more simple than the answer that I just gave, simply because I went into more details. I don't know why. I probably shouldn't have. It just makes me look dumb.
That's a good idea for people who are thinking about buying a car now, because
or we're doing the ice racing, or right. Not racing, ice drifting on the lake, right? So we needed to buy a car that had plates on it because we don't want to have to pay the $1,300 in order to get registration on the car. We can just transfer it over to our name without getting a reinspection. And because of the time that we're buying it now, we could probably get that car for less than any other time of the year. But if we want to do these kind of videos in April, we're going to be out of luck because we won't be able to find any cars with plates on them. It'd be like 1 in 100 maybe.
It's like winter driving was made for the tax.
Yeah.
That's what they did. They were like, everyone take your cars, go ice drift in. They're cheap.
Would I avoid accident vehicles? It depends on the type of car. Like if I were buying like a, I don't know, like some cars are really hard to find without going for the accident grade cars. And a lot of the accidents are very small. And so if you're picky about which one that you bid on, I wouldn't mind bidding on an R grade car. I've owned some before. There've been no problem at all. Some people don't like the idea that their car's been in an accident, and that's fair enough. And so those people don't buy one that's been in an accident. And like this one, always look in the details here and get this translated to find out if there's any like damage to the frame that you don't like. Has the cross member been replaced or the inner panels replaced, and that sort of thing. It is a higher risk going for an R grade car. They'll generally sell for a little bit less, but it depends on the type of car. Like for example, an R32 GTST Skyline, maybe 70% of those have been in accidents by now, and so you're cutting out a lot of the share of the possible vehicles that you could be bidding on when you're taking out the R grade cars completely. And then that car is also like, it doesn't hold any value having not been in an accident in the same way that like an E30 M3 would. Like an E30 M3 that has been in an accident compared to one in the exact same condition but hasn't been in an accident may be worth $8,000 or $10,000 difference. And so if I was buying a car for a collector's car and hoping for it to appreciate in value, I definitely wouldn't go for an R grade car, but almost all the cars that we sell are not of that category. of a special collector car. Even like an RS6 or an RS4, an accident grade car is one that I would go for because I'm not expecting the price of those to go up. Even though they will eventually, not in the same way like an E30 M3 would. The R34 GTS-Ts are about $1,000,000 yen and up, 1 million to 1.5 million. So that's like 9,000 to 14,000 US dollars. And the Evo 9 wagons, what year did they make those? 2006?
I was just trying to check.
I think they're 2006. They only made them for 1 year, which was the year of the Evo 9s, which is maybe the best looking of the 7, 8, 9 generation. And so if that's the case, then they're importable in 2 years. Shall we look that up? We're at the end of the stream here because it's been an hour now, but
I can't even find it.
I can find it. This is going to be a race. Oh, no, none of them for sale right now. So let's look at past auctions. I clicked up here for the past auctions. Mitsubishi.
2005.
2005. So they're importable to Canada next year.
2,500 were produced.
Only 2,500?
Yeah.
And then a lot of them are automatic transmissions too. Oh, this is a car I want so much.
I agree.
Okay, so let's go to result. Sold. Oh, I got Lancer Wagon, but no evolutions. There's only one Evo here. They're not that hard to buy though. We've bought a few of them and they're not that hard. This one sold for 469,000 yen. So that would be like $3,500. But it does have the automatic transmission. But would that be so bad? I don't know. The 6-speed would absolutely be a better transmission, but it would be over 1,000,000 yen. You would pay twice as much. Love the widened back fenders and how they fit in with the plastic next to the taillight to make it wider.
So they did make the Evo wagons with automatic transmissions.
Yeah, they're called the GTA version. A is for automatic. And they don't come with a hood vent. So if you see one with a hood vent, it may have been an option, but as standard they didn't have them, or they've been replaced because the hood vent looks really cool. Okay, so that's going to be the end of the stream. Everyone, thank you for joining me. Hopefully next time I've got a little bit more energy than I do this time. But that's how life goes when you're working as hard as I did, and I've had a really hard weekend with the sick wife, with the flu.
Yeah.
I need empathy.
Derek,
please.
I can't believe you're still soldiering on.
More,
through
please.
all your adversity.
We'll just keep doing this for the next 10 minutes.
It's good.
No, Kel? Can you say nice things to me?
Derek would like some compliments because he's had a hard weekend because his wife is sick.
Awesome.
She said I'm awesome and the best.
I think that really just sums up your personality, just awesome, right?
All right. Bye, everyone.